Hey guys, welcome to our roundup of the Bahrain Grand Prix. So we've just, I say just, it's a couple hours later, but we've had time to record this. I'm here with Charlie again, and we're going to go through what we thought of the race. So shall we start off with the double formation lap?
Yeah, bit of an interesting start, stalled start. All the talk beforehand, talking about 57 laps, and it ends up being 56 laps because of the additional formation lap. Not the best start for Red Bull, considering how well everything had gone in, obviously testing a couple of weeks ago, and then also through practice and through qualifying and everything. Obviously, it wasn't good for Perez to begin with, but sort of was the last thing he needed, wasn't it?
And he got to start at the pits he got restarted again, so which is kind of good, but
Yeah,
having to start out the pits is exactly what you want. But fun fact, the two formation laps they did?
Mhm.
That brings me nicely on to, Mazepin has completed more formation laps than actual laps in Formula One.
Well, he nearly completed more formation laps than he did corners.
It's corner three.
Corner three. So actually, successfully, he's completed an equal amount of formation laps than.
Yeah, two formation laps, not even a full lap, which is pretty impressive. I think that may be a record in Formula One. But yeah, going on to the Hasses, Mazepin spin turn 3, and Mick I think span later on.
Yeah, both just seem to be struggling from rear grip. I mean, no one was near Mazepin when he spun.
He was on. It was Mick near. Was it Mick near Sebastian Vettel at the time? Because he was fighting up from the back of the pack. P20 start. Obviously penalised for the yellow flag infringement in qualifying the day before. Brought him back down from.
In the end, actually meant he was starting P19.
Yeah,
because of Perez.
But it's still back of the pack. He fought his way up. Where did he finish in the end? I think he finished P15.
Vettel was P15 behind the Williams of George Russell, who I thought had a really good race.
He did. That Williams didn't look too great with the wind. They were apprehensive of the windy tracks, but it looked pretty good. He held his own. Sometimes you see he was getting a bit angry with the car. It just seemed a bit frustrating for him because he can do more, and the car was just kind of holding him back.
I think he knows that now after last season as well. He knows that, and he's shown to Williams, and he's spoken about it already this season that they want to see him winning races. And I think obviously everyone's going to be realistic within that team. That is going to mean, and he's a Mercedes junior driver as well.
Yeah,
it's going to mean
set up for those tracks.
Moving to a different car. Yeah,
it's only set up for a certain track, so if he can get it on, or this wasn't a track it was set up for. So when it's set up for, I think it's the high speed downforcey tracks. I think it's set up for. I could be wrong. Could be the other ones. But it's basically set up for winning on certain tracks. It wants to score points, but on certain tracks rather than try and win points on all the tracks.
Yeah, the Mercedes power unit's going to do them well. Williams I think it was through practice or even qualifying, in terms of the speed traps, they were right up there, both Latifi and Russell.
Talk about being right up there. Did you see Lando's pace? He didn't see the fastest lap in the end, but throughout the race, he was at the speed traps. He was hitting top end to top 3 of the speed traps all the way around.
I think, again, a really solid race and a really good start for the season for him, because it shows that he's going to be up there again. And
it was a P4 finish.
Could have been a P3 if Bottas took any longer in the pit.
What happened in that pit? Was it just a poor pit management from Mercedes?
Was front right wouldn't come off. So the car got jacked up, thought all the tyres had changed, they dropped the car back down, and then had to lift the car back up again to try and get the front right off.
You know exactly what you want to do when you're waiting in the pits.
So
overheating.
He was stationary for, I think it was about 10.5 seconds.
That's not ideal comparing to Red Bull. I think Max's fastest pit was 1.9 seconds in the pits.
Yeah, lap 39, Max had a 1.9 second pit stop. And that was when he was...
And that's combined with a 23-second pit stretch. So when you go into the pits, it's 23 seconds plus whatever your pit crew takes. So Max was 24.9.
He was 13.5 seconds going into that, which then meant that when he came out, he was 8.5 seconds behind with the 16 laps to go. And that's when he started his charge for trying to chase him down.
And he started clawing it back from Hamilton.
Yeah.
He painfully got all the way there. Some of the last laps that Amazon AWS has helped us always went, 6 laps to charge, and then you just saw Max chunking it half a second down a lap. I'm like, okay, it's probably be less than that.
Well, you say about the AWS. I thought for once it was actually going to have something useful on when Lewis pitted first to try and get the undercut, and then commentators were saying Max has got to pit now because otherwise he's going to risk not
Yeah.
not getting out in front, and the AWS system was like, oh, it's going to be really close, really close, and then Max stayed out, and then the AWS system was like, yeah, 90% chance Lewis is going to be ahead when Max does eventually.
It just kept going up the longer Max was out on this. Was it mediums he was out on? Because it was a 3-stopper, quite a lot of teams did.
Yeah, he was out on the mediums.
And they got old, and it wasn't actually helpful having the trouble he was having from the beginning of the race with the diff issue. They kept trying to change engine modes and try and fix the diff in the back because it's causing, I think his engineers were saying it was causing wheel spin at high speeds.
Yeah, so he was struggling with
drivetrain diff issue,
rear grip. So it could have been, could have ended up having the same issue. I guess would have been his worry that same as what the Haas had in terms of lack of rear grip. But then you saw that after he got past Lewis and had to hand the place back to him because he went off wide at turn 4, which they'd been doing throughout the race, but because it was actually to gain a position, they quickly said, you need to give the place back. And because he gave the place back, it was then, I think, turn 14 where Verstappen had massive amounts of oversteer because he'd cooked the tyres, sat behind Lewis for like 6 laps. Yeah.
And also, the thing is, those track limits I brought a couple of times in the commentary, it was before the race, they weren't really monitoring it, and then during qualifying, they were, and they just didn't seem very set out in stone what they were monitoring around the track limits.
No, and they kept talking about...
That's where they kept pushing around it.
Yeah, and the commentators kept talking about the fact that there was one thing where it said, like, basically, we will enforce it as we need to.
Yeah, but that's ambivalent. You don't know what that means.
While you're doing it and you're going through when you're going 200 miles an hour. Although Lewis still manages to be able to argue with them while he's doing that when he got told he needs to watch it on turn 4, and when then you've got Verstappen getting told, oh yeah, by the way, start running wide on turn 4, to which Verstappen was saying, well, what about track limits? And they were like, well, Lewis has been doing it the entire race. Yeah.
Then you've got with the whole Lewis situation, is that he was doing fine at the front. Obviously, the pit benefited him dramatically against Max. But when Max at the end, you know how Lewis, it was last season when Lando got P3 because Lewis had a 10-second penalty, but he didn't serve it. It was a 5-second penalty he got during the race, and then he didn't serve it, so he got taken off at the end.
Yeah.
Max was adamant that he didn't want to give the position back, but Red Bull said give the position to, and then because he wants that 5-second penalty, he reckoned he could have made that back up.
Yeah.
With that free space. Quite ballsy of him, but he reckoned he could have done it and then served the 5-second penalty and then still would have won, rather than having to give to Hamilton and give it back. But he also didn't have to give it
straight away.
When he gave it, he could have given it, the commentator saying, I think it was turn 14 going into that straight. So then he could have given it and then just taken the toe, which would have given him a little bit of a slingshot towards the bottom.
He could have given it so that he got DRS. Instead, he gave it back when Lewis had DRS as well. Which Christian Horner didn't really... You could see that, upon reflection, probably not the best thing to do, because he was just sort of saying, "Oh, well, you want to give it back as soon as possible," and it's like, but
strategy probably wasn't there.
Your competitors, I think he knows, and they'll be saying that, next time we need to not be so hasty.
And then I think next time, the next race we're coming to, I think, is it Portugal next?
Yeah, I think it's Portimao.
Portimao, which I think Red Bull should have a solid chance there again with Max in the pace, because Lewis thought they were going to be a couple hundreds off the pace today, and I think
it's Imola. Imola's next, then Portimao.
So then they've got Imola, nice bit of pace on there. The Red Bull, it should have more pace, but the longer they're out there, or the longer the season's going on, the more time Mercedes have to fix the rake issues and all the downforce. So it'll be interesting to see what happens at Imola in a couple of weeks' time. I
think it was interesting to hear, talking about the rake, to hear Aston Martin team principal, can't remember his name now.
Omar.
Yeah, because all he wanted to talk about was the rake and to say how it had ruined their car and stuff, and like how unfair it was, and like that's all he was talking about when they were talking to him.
It's like it was designed to penalise the Mercs, and by proxy them, because their car is a clone of the Merc. And there's chassis differences, but they both benefit from the low rake system.
I mean,
just change that. It did what they wanted to do and penalise them.
Yeah, Stroll still managed to get into the points just. I think...
Good race from Tsunoda as well, getting up there.
Yeah,
he beat Stroll. You've got Carlos getting up there. Like, you look at the board, it's quite... Kimi and Antonio Giovinazzi in the Alphas, they came up a lot higher than we predicted. It was, I think, apart from Gasly, it was a bit of a shocker on the board from his front wing. I think it was quite a...
Yeah, losing his front wing, that was... He was always going to struggle. And I think that's the difference between that and the actual Red Bull of Perez, who was able to get through all the way to 5th. I think he did great.
He had an amazing race.
I
It's
think-
usually him and Bahrain. He can just go from the bottom and work his way all back up the pack. It's just something with him and Bahrain.
But in a way, that's nice that his car failed him at the beginning because it took all the pressure off him. Obviously, people were
He
saying
just climbed
yesterday,
up.
yeah, the strategy for what tyre to do the qualifying on was wrong because they went for the mediums, should have gone soft to get through to Q3. But in the end, it didn't matter because he started at the back of the grid anyway. And that kind of gave him a free pass and meant that, qualification stuff was all forgotten about because of how well he did to get all the way to 5th.
And he's up there, and he's probably, no offense to Albon, he probably did better than what Albon would have done, given that, it's hard to say, but given that position.
Difficult to say.
Yeah, because I'm saying that more from his experience point. He's a lot more experienced driver than Albon, so he probably knows better how to handle the situation and has more laps under his belt. So he just naturally, it feels more natural to him, rather than be like, oh, it's my third rookie season, panicking and stuff like that.
Yeah, 100%.
But ultimately, I thought it was a pretty good race. That last 10 laps, they had me the edge of my seat, I'm not going to lie. But yeah, it's a pretty good race. What were your thoughts?
It was a really good race. I hope that it carries on like that in terms of how close it is. We've got a few weeks off now.
Fingers crossed the development doesn't go through the roof and Mercedes just pull out of nowhere.
Yeah, they're just 1-2 for the rest of the season. And I thought that, I did think Max was going to do it, but in the end, Lewis managed to just hold on to it, which I think Lewis did well considering the whole weekend. You got to say, Max looked like he had the quicker car.
Definitely. It was impressive for them both. Cheers for watching our roundup. If you want to see more, we've got our predictions for this season. I'll link it at the end.
Looks like they could be quite accurate, some of them. Some of them not.
Yeah. Yeah, about that. Cheers. Thank you.
Cheers.
See ya.